This is Minutia Men with Rick and Dave.
So, well, obviously Michelle's brothers are Rick and Dave.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They have a podcast in the top 0.5%. They do much better than us.
I love the fact that her brothers are named Rick and Dave.
Well,
That just
and
cracks
David.
me up. Yeah.
David, when...
He must like you better because you're Dave
Right.
of Rick and Dave, and he's Dave of Rick and Dave.
Actually...
I think they both like you better. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But you're definitely in the top 10.
Okay,
There's
well,
no
that's
question.
good. Yeah.
So when I'm talking to David,
Yeah.
when he talks about his brother Rick,
Yeah.
he calls him Brother Rick.
Okay.
And when he talks about you in the podcast, he goes,
Yeah.
Gout Rick.
Oh my God.
So you're Gout Rick and Brother Rick. So I just thought that was very fun.
I'll take it. I am who I am. It's time for Minutia Men.
The following is a Tony Lasano podcast, an Opie production on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. This is Minutia Men with Rick and Dave.
I wonder when you're just going to be Gout. Instead of Gout Rick, it's just referred like Twiggy.
I feel like I'm letting my gout brothers down because I haven't had gout in years now.
It's not been years.
It's been at least a year.
Really?
Yeah, maybe more.
Then why are you limping? Is the limp now just old age limp?
I don't limp.
Well, you did break your leg.
I've got a hop, skip, and a jump in my step. I did break my ankle, so I'm still limping a little bit.
Yeah. And is that limp going to be forever?
Yeah, I don't care.
Like, how much are you really moving anyway?
The one thing that is going to be forever is the shoulder, which I broke a couple years ago. I still don't have a lot of strength in my. I can't open my garage door with my left arm.
So
and in the winter it freezes up on me because of the cold weather. And I can
you're talking about your shoulder or the
my
garage?
My arm.
Okay.
I can actually feel the metal in there because it freezes up. It's really uncomfortable.
So you've gone through metal detectors at airports since then, right?
Yeah, but I guess titanium doesn't show up in the metal detector.
And plus, probably everybody's got.
Right. We're America.
Thank God they don't have a diabetes test on the metal detector. What I noticed, this is totally unrelated, but I do my notes before the show.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of. So do you.
You mean this is not just ad-libbed?
No.
It mostly is.
And we've been doing this now for
8 years.
8 years. And I've kept them all. I don't throw any.
Actually, you know what? We're 1 month away from 9 years.
Wow. But so I from time to time, I'll see one, podcast, 1980 or 80 or 2009 or 14 or whatever. And I have noticed that for the ones 8 years ago, 9 years ago, my notes are in 18 point or 16 point type. Now they're 24 point type.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and we can double check these things because Dave and I both have a long history of saving every email ever.
Hoarding. Yeah, we are hoarders.
I think I have 20,000 saved in my. I can check it out. Let me check real quick.
I'm not going to get on my email, but I have probably 250,000 emails. Probably.
Yeah, I've got 30,000.
Yeah. And I'm sure they're all important.
Super important.
Right. From green white that, you ran out of herring.
That's never happened.
In 2003.
Bite your tongue, young man.
All right. Well, speaking of hoarding, I have my first story is kind of about hoarding.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question. How often are you peeing during the night, and how's your flow?
You know what? I gave up alcohol for Lent.
Oh, so that's...
Have I mentioned this?
But how many more days left?
600, 700, 800, 4 years. I can't keep track of it. But the problem is, to replace the alcohol I've been drinking, I have been drinking just gallons and gallons of water.
Okay.
And now I've got to pee 100 times a day because I'm drinking so much water.
So are you replacing because you just need to drink? Is it just
apparently it's like a
habit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how often are you getting up in the?
I'd say twice.
All right. So when do you go to bed?
But it used to be once. Now it's twice.
So when do you usually go to bed? 11-ish, 11:30?
Yeah, midnight.
All right. So first one at 2:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah. Okay. And then 5:30ish.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's. Every male listener now is nodding their heads right now. That's right. How's your flow? Pretty good.
It's got trickly days, but for the most
Another
part,
trickly day. That was a great Who song.
Yeah, I bet you the Who have trickly days.
All right. Well, I'm only interested for your prostate health. I mean, it's not something weird. All right?
No, I think it's fine.
But here is
check.
Here, well, you don't really even have to. Do you just get the PSA, or do you?
Yeah, no, I do. Yeah.
Well, here's a story about urine that comes out of where else? Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon has become a really weird city.
It has, yeah.
Well, here's a story about urine from.
A story about urine. URIN.
Yeah, not but urine.
Okay.
In Portland,
piss. Oregon. There's a story about piss.
Yeah, I refer to it as urine, but
okay.
Yes. Here's the headline: Man has no idea who is putting gallons of urine in his recycling bin or why. Alex Van Doyne said the problem started in September when he noticed his recycling bin had not been collected. And he's like, so I went to so I opened up the blue bin and go, why are they? And lo and behold, there was a nice deposit of gallon-sized bottles of urine in his
gallon size, like a.
There was gallons,
like a milk.
Yeah, right, of urine that somebody and there were six gallon-sized bottles of urine in his recycling bin. Okay, and the recycling hauler refused to take the bin's contents because
understandable.
Biohazard, right? So he went to a biohazard disposal. He drove those 6 bottles and he disposed of the urine. Next week, same thing happened. 6 more gallons of urine hung out in his head. And it kept on going, So he set up a camera.
A sting operation.
Yeah. He set up a camera. The guy comes in, he's wearing like a hoodie.
Yeah.
And what Alex Van Doyne says is that the guy is like, blanking out the license plate of his car.
Yeah.
So it's been like duct tape or whatever. So he goes in the middle of the night, dumps the urine, goes away. Okay.
Because he was anticipating the sting operation.
Probably.
Yes.
First off, the culprit is listening to our show, which chances are he is.
Yeah.
Because this is our MO. I want to say you're in a lot of trouble. Okay.
Gotcha.
Second, I discovered that hoarding urine is actually a condition that has a name. There's like a mental illness for hoarding urine.
Really?
It's called Diogenes syndrome. Okay. And it often happens with people who live in squalor. Okay. Do you remember our bathroom in the pit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did we not hoard urine there?
Yeah. We certainly lived in squalor.
Have you ever hoarded any urine? I'm just
kidding. I have.
It's just me and you. Right
you want to know something? There was one summer when we first got our dog, Ivy, and she got skunked 3 times.
Oh, and urine helps the smell,
yes,
right?
And I did some investigating and how to get rid of skunks. And if you have human urine or any really, excuse me, any like major size animal, like if you collected,
which would be a human
elephant urine or whatever, would be even better.
And who doesn't?
But the human urine, if you put it around the outside of your fence or whatever, it will keep the skunks away.
So how did you distribute?
So I had a little container.
Okay.
Which
was it a gallon?
It was a gallon.
Okay.
Which I captured my urine in, and then at some point I just this is crazy. I'm just gonna go piss on it.
That was my first thought: is why cut the middleman out?
Because
and just
I was trying to make Bridget think that I wasn't a complete animal, but I am a complete animal. And you know what? Screw it. So I just started going around the fence and peeing on it.
Okay.
After that,
did that work?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Alex,
free tip for everyone.
So the only thing that I've collected of bodily stuff is belly button lint.
Oh,
do you remember in college? I don't know why
do.
I did that.
Yeah.
And then I would make a shot glass. I collected a Folks shot glass of belly button lint.
It's so disgusting.
And then I gave it to Steve Quinn, and he almost threw up.
Yeah.
So that was it's belly button lint, so it's not that bad.
It's pretty gross.
So Portland, Oregon, whoever's
So
doing,
there's no answer to how they
have no idea.
I have a theory.
What's your theory?
Amazon driver.
Well, that was this is one of the theories that was. So he put it on Nextdoor.
Yeah.
You know, the Nextdoor app, and that was one of the theories.
Yeah,
was
because
that
they're not
can't
allowed to pee.
Right.
Okay.
That was the biggest. That was the. It's funny you mentioned that. It was the number one theory that people that it was an Amazon driver that lived down the street that didn't want it in his.
So I have a story for you as well. This was actually sent to me by executive producer Tony Lasano.
No.
And it's he sent it because it's about German words. All right. And this was a clip of an actress. I don't know her name, to be honest with you. From a few months ago, she was on Stephen Colbert's show, and they were talking about the German language. Oh. Here it is.
You have a favorite German word?
I do. It's horrific. It's Backpfeifengesicht, which is a beautiful compound word which means a face that begs to be punched. And I felt that's totally.
That's one word? That's one?
It's a compound word, so Back, I guess, means like punch or slap, and Pfeifengesicht? No, Backpfeifen is like punch, and Gesicht is face.
Uh-huh.
And
is it frequently used? Like, I find Germans use this frequently?
I guess, frequently enough that it came up in conversation. It comes up. But
Not with you, I hope. Not with you. But if I looked it up on the internet, I'd find it?
You definitely would find it.
Okay.
Apparently with a lot of photos of Ted Cruz.
I thought that was pretty good.
Leave it to the Germans to have a word for that. What is the word for the dish rag? The
Waschlappe?
Yeah, okay.
Waschlappe. So Backpfeifengesicht is it literally means slap face. Okay. And actually I think Brent, our friend Brent from Destination Eat Drink, sent me a note a few months ago, maybe a year ago, asking me about this, and I hadn't really heard that word before, but I knew what it meant, just literally,
phonetically,
because that's what Germans do. Right? Their words they explain things. Yeah. Like, for instance, the word for gloves is Handschuh.
Is that a hand shoe?
Hand shoe.
Okay.
Which, if you think about it,
that's exactly what it is.
Describes what it is.
It's more like a hand sock than a shoe.
Well, that's true. And a light bulb is called a Glühbirne.
Which a artificial burner?
No, like a glowing pear, which kind of describes it because it's shaped like a pear, right? But I went through some of my favorite German words for you, and some of these are sayings, and some like Waschlappe.
Right.
It's like a jargon that is used,
and that is again
it literally means wet washcloth,
and it refers to a husband.
Yes,
right? that is being discarded by his wife. Right.
Yes. All right, you're gonna love this one. Well, everyone knows the word Schadenfreude.
Yeah, of course.
Right? That's the feeling of pleasure derived from someone else's misfortune.
Again,
that's
a German word.
German word, which literally means harm joy. Harm joy. How about this one? Treppenwitz. Treppenwitz.
Okay.
That means staircase joke, which describes a joke that you've thought about after you've left the room. Like too late, like a rejoinder, like you're walking down this. I should have said that. Right. Yes, that's a Treppenwitz.
But Germans don't have senses of humor, so that can't.
Well, sometimes it comes to them, but not while they're in the room.
So they're not funny, basically. Well, they've got a great joke. Remember 6 weeks ago? It's not funny, Klaus.
Then there's you want to know what a good term for a wimp or a weakling is?
Sure.
I've got two of them. Weichei.
Okay.
Weichei, which means soft egg. That's what they call, oh, Weichei.
Yeah, you punch him in a way.
Here's another one. Warmduscher. Warm, the word warm. Duscher, shower. Warm showerer. It's a slang term for someone who's a wimp.
Because they can't have a hot shower?
Yeah. Oh, warm shower. He's like a warm shower.
It's surprising that you people invaded every country.
I know. Would you like to hear the longest word in the German? Oh, wait. I got one more for you. Kummerspeck.
Okay.
Kummerspeck. Sorrow bacon. Right? Sorrow bacon.
Not sour bacon, but
sorrow. Like
Okay.
I feel sorrow.
Okay.
That is about excess weight gained from comfort eating. Sorrow bacon. Like, I shouldn't have eaten that bacon.
So, that also means American.
Kummerspeck. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But here is the longest word in the German language. It's 36 letters long.
Okay.
This is the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Or the anti-disestablishmentarianism.
Yes. Kraftfahrzeug Haftpflichtversicherung.
Say it again.
Kraftfahrzeug Haftpflichtversicherung.
Say it 3 times real fast.
Kraftfahrzeug. No, I can't do it. That means, and this is a real word, German word, a compound word, just like Waschlappe and Backpfeifengesicht. Yeah. It means motor vehicle liability insurance. Kraftfahrzeug Haftpflichtversicherung. Kraftfahrzeug Haftpflichtversicherung.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. What does this word mean? With Eigenhauben und Schliegenwagenhauben.
Nothing. It means nothing.
That said something, right?
Well, all right. Haben. You said haben as
I
part
don't
of it.
remember what I said.
Yeah, haben. It means I had to have.
Okay.
I. You said I.
Yeah, I think so.
That means egg.
Okay.
Those are the 2 words that I caught out of that.
Let me do it again. Ich haben und Wiegen steigen.
Okay. I have.
Yeah.
A vegan Schneigen, which doesn't mean anything.
Does it even is vegan?
Well, vegan, Wagen, if you said Wagen, that's a car.
Okay.
Schneiden, Schneigen means nothing, but Schneiden is like cutting. Like I'm cutting your hair.
So my German gibberish is pretty close to real
It's pretty
word.
close to real.
Okay.
It's pretty close.
We got a review which is very apropos to what we're talking about.
Okay.
This comes from on Pod Paradise, which I never even knew was a thing. Guy named City says, as a German, I find this podcast hilarious. However, consider the source.
Okay.
That is on
All right.
This is totally purely random.
Okay.
And we didn't know.
It's time for another feature.
Time now for Studio Walls.
And the words of the prophets were written on the studio walls.
So this is the part of the show where we dip into the vast Rick and Dave archives. And, we have interviewed over 200 people now.
Some are
200
dead.
celebrities.
Some are
Some
dead.
are no longer with us. But all of them, I think, to a person, have told us some story about some other celebrity in addition to themselves. And this week is Jane Asher's birthday. Remember Jane Asher?
Yeah, she was the girlfriend or the wife of Paul McCartney.
She was Paul McCartney's girlfriend during the Beatles. Yeah. She is 78 years old today.
No.
And we've never had Jane on the show. I'd love to have her on.
Okay.
But we have had Paul Saltzman on. And Paul Saltzman was a guy...
Unbelievably great story.
Yeah.
He did.
He went to India just to have transcendental meditation with the Maharishi.
How do you say transcendental meditation in German?
I don't know.
There's no word.
Probably. Anyway, they went to India.
Right.
He went to India, and it just happened to be the same week that the Beatles were there. So he hung out with the Beatles all week. Mm-hmm. This is the story of what happened at the end of the week when it was time to go. All right, and then it leads into a story about Jane Asher.
So I'm saying goodbye, and it's very warm, and I turn and start to walk away, and John says, "Hey, Paul, will you send us some of your pictures?" So I turn back, and I go back to the table, and I say, "Sure." And Jane Asher, who's sitting there, says, "Here, take my home number. If you call Apple, you'll never get through to them."
Wow.
So about 6 months later, I have a job working on the first IMAX film.
Oh.
And I'm traveling through London. And I still don't have money. I'm still a kid working in the sort of, assistant to the director type of jobs. I haven't yet made my first film. And I want to blow up a print of each of them to give them, because John asked me if I would send them some of my pictures. So I go to the lab in Toronto, And printing color pictures in those days of a poster size was like too much money. I couldn't afford it.
Right.
So I said, can we print them in black and white? Guys, they looked fantastic in black and white. So I print my favorite portrait of each of them. I take them to London where I'm working for a few days. I call Jane on her home number. We meet for a cup of tea in Kensington for half an hour. She is a very dear person and a very bright person. She wouldn't talk to me for my first book or my second book or my film. It was like, go away.
Wow.
She left that world behind, right?
Okay.
She left that world behind. So we meet for half an hour. We have a lovely chat. I give her the rolled up pictures. She says, I'll give them to them. And I think to myself about giving her my calling card. And honest to God, I have this thought. I think those guys don't need new friends. Their lives are crazy. So I didn't even give her my calling card. And that was it. So I presume she passed them on. But I need to tell you what happened next. Am I taking too much of your time?
No. Go ahead.
What happened next in this magic, and again, I want to say magic is available to everyone on the planet. And among all of our problems, if we can just stay in our hearts, the universe just gives us gifts. It really does. And so I'm in London, right? And I say goodbye to her, and her taxi pulls away. And I call it, and I wave a taxi down. And I go to this address. And I go to the address. I don't know what it is, because a friend who was working at the film board, who was a production manager, and I had stayed in touch. And when he knew I was coming to London, he said, hey, come and see me. Come to this address at this time on this day, same day. So I go to the address, and it turns out to be George Martin's Look, Listen Productions, a little building in Soho, if I remember right. I'm not sure. And I get out of the taxi and I walk in. And my friend, his name is Bob Bayless, introduces me to two guys who turn out to be the editor and the assistant editor of a new movie. And I'm with them. And the four of us are going to go into a screening room. We're going to screen this new movie. So we go down the hall. We go into this small screening room with about 10 seats. And we sit down. One of the, I forget, the editor or the assistant editor, pulls out a big fat joint. In the days that you rolled big fat joints.
Yeah, sure.
And you passed them around, right?
Right.
There was only one. You passed it around.
You can't do that during COVID anymore.
Right, exactly. The pandemic has ruined that.
It has ruined it. The lights go down, and what starts to play is the first release print of Yellow Submarine.
And you're stoned.
And I'm stoned. Are you kidding me?
That's so awesome. Yeah.
I mean, imagine that.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Well, didn't he, was it Obla D, Obla Da? He was just hanging out with the Beatles when they wrote.
I suspect we may hear that story another time on this show, because I've chronicled them all, Dave, and try to bring them out when they make sense.
You are an archivalist?
Archivist. I am, yes. All right. Wait. You know what? Before
we get email.
Yes, we don't often get these like about our show, so I wanted to play this for you.
Say, you heard about this new electronic mail?
That new method of exchanging messages between people using electronic devices?
Yeah. What's it called?
Email for Rick and Dave.
So, yeah. This is, remember last week I did a bit about Trump jokes?
Yeah, the email joke.
And then I had
AI
come up with some. This is an email from Michigander. I loved your bit last week when you had AI do Trump jokes. I played it for my brother-in-law, who is a Trumper. Yeah. He grudgingly admitted it was funny, but then said, figures you would love this, you Marxist. Why don't you do AI jokes for Karl Marx? Okay. So we did. And here's what they gave me. You ready? Yeah. Most people have heard of Karl Marx, but don't know his sister Anya, an Olympic runner. Her name is still mentioned at the start of every race.
Anya Marx.
Yeah.
Okay. Not bad.
That's it.
Not bad.
Yeah. So we're covering it, the right and the left. We've got it all covered.
Yeah, I love it how we say, we're not about politics, whatever.
Yeah.
Virtually every friggin' podcast.
We are who we are.
Hey, baseball season, right?
Yeah.
Just Cubs.
Hey, tomorrow.
Yeah, opening day. Well,
opening day. By the time you hear this, there will have already been opening.
And you're going to the game, right?
I'm also going to be on WGN TV tomorrow morning after this comes out. But so
I hear the weather's going to be beautiful.
Oh God, it's never.
Do you go? You go to opening day every year?
I try to.
Have you ever had a nice weather for opening day? Yeah,
no.
But I think we talked about this before. You know how minor league baseball teams will change their names and their logos during the season for a few games to kind of add a little fun and a little spice. You know, they do this
to sell merchandise,
new merchandise.
Right.
Well, this story comes out of Maryland. The Chesapeake Bay Sox alternate logo leads to powerful climax. Okay. Let's see where this is leading. Right. The introduction of the Chesapeake Oyster Catchers to the world.
What are they called?
Well, their real name is the Chesapeake Bay Sox, but their wacky name, their alter is Chesapeake Oyster Catchers. Okay, it's in Maryland. Well, they released their logo and their name, and it made quite a splash on social media, but not in the way that minor league team may have had originally thought about. Let me show you this picture right here. Okay, see the logo here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What perhaps does that look like to you?
Well, Dave, that looks like a vagina to me.
Okay, right. It's a baseball glove with a oyster.
Yeah.
Right, and what is on the top there?
It looks like a clitoris. Okay, is what it looks like. Yes.
And it with seams on it, with like a baseball seam.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I've never seen a clitoris before.
You've never seen one? Okay, yeah.
Quite frankly, I haven't really looked for one.
Yeah,
that's much,
true.
You know, and I think it's basically fake news.
Yeah.
There's no
exactly.
So my first thought was, if there's a God, the Chesapeake Oyster Catchers have got to play the Savannah Bananas. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And the second thought was, where do I get merch? Right?
Yeah.
Well, good news and bad news. While you can't get jerseys, hats, and T-shirts on the Bay Sox site anymore, and you know why? Because their site kept on crashing. So many people wanted the oyster / vagina logo. Kept on crashing, but you can get the merch on Amazon.
Okay.
For a T-shirt, guess how much is being sold on Amazon right now?
$20.
$62.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah.
So,
and remember, boys and girls, Amazon is the devil.
Yeah. Also, you have these new torpedo bats coming out.
Yeah.
What I haven't really followed.
I'm not following that either.
Okay, but the thing is that they design these bats, I think personally, for each batter. Okay. So when they swing, it hits the sweet spot.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that is.
See
what I did there? I smell a promotional tie-in there.
Yeah, that's not what you're smelling. All right, I have a story for you. This is a story about, I think, the second richest man in the world. All right. So
you?
No, I'm close, but no. This
all right.
is,
Well, Elon's first, second,
maybe the third. He's in the top 5.
Is it Bill Gates?
No. We're just talking about his company, Amazon.
Oh, okay, that guy,
Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
He is going to get married.
Yes.
And rumors have leaked that he's going to marry Lauren Sanchez this summer in Venice.
Didn't he cheat on his wife with this woman? And then that was an expensive.
Right. Well, this is going to be an expensive wedding, but it's not going to be as expensive as that first one was. It's going to be at the end of June. And they're saying that this is possibly going to be the most expensive wedding of all time. And I looked up some of the other most expensive weddings. Mm-hmm. Most of them are royal weddings, which they don't count, right? But I found 5 celebrity weddings that are all over $1 million. Wow.
Okay.
And one of them is considered to be the most expensive non-royal celebrity wedding ever.
It'll be interesting to see how many of these are still married.
Well, that's a good point. So let me see if I have the clip for this. Discuss amongst yourselves here. Here we go.
Time now for a Minutia Men Minutia quiz.
All right, 5 choices.
Okay.
You tell me which is the most expensive.
Okay.
Michael Jordan and American model Yvette Prieto, married in 2013.
He cheated on his
Yeah, so
wife
his
with
first
it.
one was more expensive too. Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes.
They're not married anymore.
No. Madonna and Guy Ritchie.
They're not married anymore.
No. Kim Kardashian and Kanye West.
They're not married anymore.
No. I don't know if Jordan is either, to be honest with you.
With the
second one. And George Clooney and Amal Al-Amuddin.
Right. They're still married.
Yes, they are.
Of the 5, you want to know?
Tell me which one was the most expensive, and I'll tell you a little bit about each of the weddings.
All right, so Jordan, I don't think it's Jordan's.
Tom Cruise, Madonna, Kim Kardashian, George Clooney.
I'm going to go George Clooney.
George Clooney is the second most expensive.
Okay.
It was $6.8 million. Let's see. Rather than
they had a cash bar too.
It was also in Venice.
Okay.
Just like Bezos. Rather than spending it on security, though, the wedding budget was primarily blown on accommodations for the A-list guests. It's believed the couple booked 95 rooms at the Cipriani Hotel, which is like the most expensive. And they also bought 600 bottles of tequila for the guests.
But how much was it? $6 million?
$6.8 million.
You could have gone to Benny's.
I know. All right. So you got Kim Kardashian, Madonna, Tom Cruise, or Michael Jordan.
Well, Kim Kardashian comes from a very wealthy family, right? All right, I'm going to go Madonna.
Madonna, $2.8 million.
Oh.
That's the least expensive. The reason that was so expensive is because she had a custom gown made by Stella McCartney, which cost $117,000.
Beatle tie in there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the couple booked an entire castle in the Scottish countryside for their guests. So that was $2.8 million. Kardashian, Cruise, or Jordan?
It's not Jordan. I guess Kardashian.
Nope. Kardashian, $4.1 million at the time, the most discussed celebrity wedding. They got married in Florence.
Okay.
At a venue that cost $300,000 to rent, and they both wore Givenchy, which I don't know what that is.
You're wearing Givenchy right now, aren't you?
Which is $730,000. So that's just, the rental and what they're wearing. But so the whole thing cost.
They didn't go to what was the tuxedo rental place that when we
Genghis? I think it still exists.
Every wedding I ever was stood up in it was you go to Genghis.
All right, so this is going to go on forever. It was Michael Jordan.
Was it really?
Yeah. All right, Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes got married into a 15th century castle in Italy. Again, Italy. They all getting married in Italy. Michael Jordan got married in Florida. But here's the thing. He had a tent built for this wedding that was 450 square meters bigger than his house.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And that's what cost so much money. It was $14.6 million.
On a tent.
Yeah, for the wedding itself. So that is the most expensive wedding.
I remember your wedding.
Yeah.
You had a great dessert. What was the dessert? Do you remember that dessert little table you had?
I don't.
You had like a strudel thing that was just...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it was. It was a strudel. It was a strudel.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an all-German wedding. Yeah, we had an Umpapa band. We had, a sauerkraut and schnitzel or something for dinner. And, the stuff that all weddings have.
Yeah. I remember the beer was pretty good.
And you know who paid for that wedding?
You did, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. So it was not $4.8 million. Time for our last feature.
Time now for Celebrity Potpourri with Rick and Dave.
So this one comes to us from Nancy. Nancy sends it. Rick, I'm a former Army brat like you. I went to high school at American School of Paris and graduated in 1974. So a few years older, 7 years older than us. One of my classmates, Charles Martinet, has gone on to become quite famous, even though you probably don't know his name. I didn't even realize it until I ran into him during the 1990s in California. He was working as a voiceover artist for video games. Charles was the voice of the Italian plumber from Brooklyn. He was Mario in all of the Super Mario games. I understand he recently stopped doing the voice, but he did it for 30 years.
I'm trying to think, does Mario, like the original Donkey Kong, was there a noise? Or did he make a voice?
Mario.
Wow, you could have made complete career doing
Well, I guess he's not doing it anymore. I can go.
Do Kermit the Frog doing Mario.
Kermit or Mario. By the way, I clipped it here. I've got to read the last sentence because it's very important. Okay. It says, P.S. Loved back in the DDR.
Oh, okay, there you go.
That's how she got me to read her thing. But it worked. Yeah. It worked. That's a good story.
So those of you out there, just give Rick a compliment about
pretend
something.
Pretend like I'm Donald Trump and come in, just blow me.
Some people say you've lost a lot of weight, Rick.
Really? Let's read your. All right. Other than this show, we have another show, and it's called Minutia Men Celebrity Interview. And this week, we interviewed a guy named Bruce Sedano, and Bruce was the
son of Donna Summers.
No, husband of Donna Summers. He was a songwriter, singer-songwriter, and he wrote Bad Girls for her. He was in a band called Alive and Kicking. They had a song called Tighter, Tighter, which was a huge hit in the 70s. Look it up. You'll immediately recognize it. He wrote for Tommy James and the Shondells. At least a half dozen of his songs. And he talked to us live from Italy.
Oh, another Italy.
Yeah.
God, we're like an onion, man. It's like we planned this all out. And no.
It's true. So that it's not up there yet. As you listen to this on Saturday, it probably won't be up there, but it'll be up there on Wednesday. So check it out.
And we've got a couple of great guests lined up in the next.
Don't even tease it because I don't want to blow it. We have people to thank.
Ed Silla, the distributor extraordinaire, and of course Tony Lasano, our executive producer, who couldn't do it without him.
You're going to say where they're from?
The Radio Misfits podcast, no.
Okay.
And because talk radio isn't dead, it just moved to a different place.
And will we be back?
We'll be back for another episode of
Minutia Men
whenever we feel like
it. The proceeding was a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. Find our other great shows on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and at RadioMisfits.com. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of Opie Productions.
Tony, can you shut up?